tell you what an honor and a privilege it is to me to introduce Governor Steve Bullock, presidential candidate for the United States of America. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I still appreciate all of you coming out, and I think Steve says you do take this seriously. Time and time again when I hear from Iowans, yeah, you're on my list now. I'm like, where on that list of 37 that's Iowa. And I know that people like come through town and they try to make attenuated connections to how they might relate to Iowa, so I'm not going to tell you that my great-great-grandparents settled in Henry County in 1850, ran a general store in Lowell through both wars. I'm not going to tell you that my mom was born in Ottumwa. You don't want to hear about any of that. I mean, why we're here, and why even gather on a Tuesday midday is for the sake of our nation, for the sake of our nation's stand in the world, and for the sake of what we're going to pass on to our kids and grandkids. We got to make sure that Donald Trump is a one-term president. Oh, yeah. I think it's more than just that, though, too. I mean, for so many folks, when I travel around this state and other places, they're seeing firsthand the impact of an economy that doesn't work for everyone. You know, you look at it and you think that when I was growing up in the early 70s, 90% of 30-year-olds were doing better than their parents were at age 30. Today, it's only half. Most people are actually working a lot harder and getting paid less. In real terms, the average worker is making less today than he or she was 40 years ago. Or you see that 2/3 of our counties lost business over the last decade. You shouldn't have to leave your school or your church or your community just to make a decent paycheck. So I think folks certainly say we got to beat him, but we got to do more. And then when they turn and talk and see what the political system's become, what Washington D.C.'s become, it's corrupted by the money. Undisclosed money after this case called Citizens United, which I'm talking about before, is only 2% of all spending in our elections. Now it's over half of these measures. Or you see tax laws literally being written for the wealthy, or environmental regulations being gutted because that's what industry wants. It's no surprise to you that folks get frustrated about it, they get anxious, they get angry. But instead of doing something about that, Donald Trump's been pouring gasoline on that fire. We are more divided today than we, and I say I think he's in the neighborhood somewhere. Yeah, I don't think it's not mine to talk to you. Probably won't look at the floods. Want to ask the farmer what the prices are, but you know what the heck. We are more divided, as I said, than ever before, certainly in my lifetime. Forget about cable news or Twitter. You can't even have conversations around a Thanksgiving table anymore without politics dividing us. And that's not the promise of America. We are better. Look, I was raised in a single-parent household, paycheck to paycheck. I only knew there was a governor's house in town because it was in my neighborhood and I delivered newspapers to it. So I made it 4 blocks in life. But you know, I worked my way through college, I borrowed my way through law school. I'll never forget that day that my wife and I paid off what would be $170,000 in loans in today's dollars. It impacted both what I could do along the way, but it also then gave me that much more freedom afterwards. Somehow, though, I had the opportunity to go from delivering newspapers to governor's house as a kid to raising my 3 kids with my wife in it. And we got to acknowledge that that opportunity no longer exists for a whole heck of a lot of people in this country. And for a whole heck of a lot, that opportunity never has. So yeah, we got to beat Donald Trump. But we also got to make sure that this economy and this democracy is actually working for all of us, not just the Cokes of the world or the Trumps of the world. I think it can be done. But we got to be clear-eyed about this. If we don't change our strategy, if we don't win back some of the places we've lost, we don't give people a reason to vote for us, not just against him. He could win again next November. I believe it can be done because I've seen it done. As was noted, so I was the only Democrat in the country to get reelected in a statewide race in the state where Trump won. He took Montana by 20 points in 2016. I won by 4. 25 to 30% of my voters voted for Donald Trump. Ooh. And there's a lesson there that we can't just go to places that we win. Or we can't just think we can win by going to those blue pockets. If we're not willing to show up and give people a reason to be with us, we're not going to win, and we probably will deserve to lose. Now, you know that there's a few candidates. I actually got in the race 4 weeks ago today, and after I kicked it off, my first stop was in Des Moines, and this woman came up to me. It's great to meet you, but what took you so long? And I had a job to do. I mean, at the end of the day, my legislative session ended about the same time as yours. Mine, Steve Gunn, is a little bit more Republican than yours. And I had to get Medicaid expansion reauthorized. Tobacco companies had spent $26 billion on a ballot initiative, making it so that we didn't get reauthorized. So were I not there, we wouldn't have got it through. I was talking to Steve that 20 years in Montana, we've been fighting for presumptive coverage for firefighters. Because we send them into these burning buildings, but if we get cancer, we usually don't do a darn thing about it. I had to be in Montana to get that legislative session moving along. And we've been able to equal with the majority Republican legislators. Well, in Iowa's been defunding higher education. We froze the college tuition 6 in the last 8 years. We have the 4th lowest tuition fees in the nation because we've been investing in it. We've made record investments in what I call the great equalizer, and that's public education. We've actually kept our public education. And we just haven't just focused on those folks going to college. We've made our 2-year degrees about apprenticeships and professionally recognized certificates so that folks can climb that ladder in the middle class. And as a result, more people at a rate in Montana are climbing the middle class than any state in the country. So I think the government can work. Now that doesn't mean you turn around and sacrifice. And what I try to do is I try to work with folks. But I also don't sacrifice those core values. I have more vetoes than any governor in the history of Montana. I've prevented every attack on a woman's right to make her own health care. You see all over the country that they're actually trying to make it harder for people to vote, not easier.
Yeah.
I've stopped every effort to make it harder to get to both the ballot box and for an injured worker to a courthouse. I've preserved wild spaces, and I've kept our public lands in public hands. And as a former union-side labor lawyer, I would say a union-side labor lawyer before I became Attorney General, I vetoed every attempt to strip away the right to organize and collect people. How I win and how I govern are much the same, and I'll give you an example of how we got Medicaid expansion. So this was 2015. This was the first time, and this was the part in Montana, kind of the most heated time about anti-Obamacare, right? That this is going to destroy our lives. And never forget, I went up to a town called Shoto. Shoto's 1,700 people along the Rocky Mountain front, because don't really have those mountains. But I lost that county big when I got elected. And when I went up to this community meeting, literally everybody in town knew why I was there, because Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brothers, were nice enough to give them glossy mailings with pictures of me and Barack Obama right next to each other. And saying, Bullock's coming to your town, essentially destroy your healthcare system. But I showed up anyway. And instead of just telling them what they need, I listened. First one that spoke at the community meeting was the hospital administrator. He said 43% of the people that walk through these hospital doors don't have health insurance. A couple of folks later on was the chair of our county commission, your county supervisors. He wasn't from Shoto, he was from Bynum. He was a rancher. I call it a suburb of Shoto, his population 50. He goes, you know what, I was born in this hospital. This hospital saved my life a couple years ago. And if we lose this hospital, this town's gone. them talking to me, and me showing up in a place and like, first you might say, why are you even going to that place? And that's what gave that Republican legislator the courage to defy the Koch brothers, to defy the party leadership, and actually vote to provide health care for people with every single vote mattered. We haven't lost one rural hospital. We went from an unshared rate from 20% to 7% today.
Whoa. Wow.
And 30,000 people have gotten mental health treatment that wouldn't have. Yeah. And that's how government should work. And I think there's a message here, whether it's Iowa, Montana, Michigan, or Wisconsin. Again, you can't write off places just because they're tough. If you look even in Iowa, almost a third of your counties went Obama, and Trump. Rather than saying, why didn't we go to those counties anymore, maybe we should be saying, why aren't Democrats competing in that county? Because this is also not only a race for the White House, this is about your state house. Yeah. And you've seen what happens here when you have Republican-controlled majorities in both the governors and both houses. So we've got to make sure that ultimately, at the end of the day, that you got somebody at the top of the ticket that's going to help change all those counties that should be voting Democrat. That's right. Because that's also going to change your state legislature. I think D.C. could learn a lot from Montana. I'm not going to suggest it's easy. And it's interesting because press earlier said, well, Montana's real small, right? It's got a bigger population than Vermont or Delaware. Just say it. We should actually look at that. But I think also until we address one of the issues that's holding us back for so many other things, and that's the toxic influence of money in our system now, all the other issues are going to be that much harder. Because Washington is controlled by that. Think about it. Lindsey Graham literally said, the other Fortune 500 companies. You look at, we pay more for prescription drugs and healthcare than any country in the world. We have nothing to show for it, and we can't even negotiate the price of drug prices. Entire generation of
property in the development from taxpayer money did all fundamental research in our universities that did all the hard work to get there.
That's right.
That's
right.
Absolutely. We should be able to, and the minimum negotiating price. Absolutely. I mean, there's actually be more money spent on advertising for drug companies than it is in the research too. Or think about that, you've actually, a whole generation of workers have been replaced by independent contractors. Union membership is at half what it was in the 1980s. Or big oil companies are making record profits. Republicans can't even acknowledge climate change is in. So until we start to address some of that, it's going to be that much harder to address the rest of the issues. I think we can do it. I've done it before. I was Attorney General, and actually with your Attorney General, Tom Miller, who's so pleased he came out and endorsed me. But I was AG with this little case called Citizens United case. I actually organized the states against it. There were 3 filings. And when that decision came down, remember, we actually, Democrats controlled both houses of Congress and the president. People talked about it as a problem. They gave speeches, the amount of raised money, but nobody did a thing. Every other state said there's nothing you can do about this. Montana had a good history of, right around the 1900s, there was these copper kings, we call them. These wealthy copper bears controlled local races, county races, state races, even federal races. Literally, it spent so much money that they were the ones that decided. Mark Twain wrote about Montana and one of these copper kings. He said, you know, by his example, even corruption smells sweet in Montana. So regular folks had come together in 1912 and passed this law that said corporations can't spend or donate in our elections. So elections became about people, not about outside interests. We have some of the lowest contribution limits and the cleanest elections in the country. Then came Citizens United. So after that case, I was still Attorney General. And I built a case. I had testimony from Republicans talking about just what the threat of outside spending could do to our legislative processes. Took it up to the U.S. Supreme Court. First case after Citizens United, a lot of interest. 5-4 decision, it threw out 100 years of law in Montana. There are 2 things I take from that. One of which, don't ever doubt the difference one Supreme Court justice could do. For women's rights,
Oh,
for
yeah.
workers' rights, for our democracy. But the second is, that doesn't mean you give up. So I went back to that, at the time it was almost 2/3 Republican legislature. And we passed a bill that said, if you're going to spend money in the elections, I don't care if you call yourselves Americans for America, whatever it might be, you have to disclose every nickel you spend in the last 90 days to influence our elections. Never forget, I'm running for re-election in 2016, and 91 days out was the last mailer from American Prosperity at Koch brothers that made me look like something that I think my children would be embarrassed that I'm the father, let alone that. But on day 90, it stopped. And we don't have to wait for a constitutional amendment or a new Supreme Court until we bold. If we can kick the Koch brothers out of Montana, we sure ought to be able to do it in Iowa, everywhere else across the country. This is, from my perspective, certainly the most important election in my lifetime. It's both about how we're going to beat Donald Trump, but it's also about whether we're going to preserve this 243-year experiment called representative democracy. And I think we can do it. We've got to both beat him, we've got to win back some of the places that we lost, and we've got to make sure that people fundamentally believe that the economy, that they will have a fair shot at a better life, and it's not just dependent on how wealthy your family is. I'm an optimist that we can do this. In part with 3 young kids, you have to be optimistic. But more than that, I think that's the core of what and who we are as Americans. I mean, we know that we're actually at our best when all voices can be heard and not when we're divided into warring camps, or when civility can replace anger along the way, or when everybody has even greater opportunities than I had, no matter where they come from, who they are, who their parents were. I do believe we can be that country again. That's what got me into this. That's what got me excited about being here and elsewhere. I so appreciate you coming out on a Tuesday. And I think I'd be willing to answer almost any question. And I appreciate that you didn't serve on the USS Helena, did you, sir?
I served with my brother Don one day.
On the USS Helena?
Well, yeah, we were guests of the, Don Harriet is my brother.
Oh, is that right?
So
I should have, but you're so much better looking than Don. What's your name, too?
Bill.
Bill? Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Kim.
Yeah. Well, have you watched the movie?
Oh yeah,
So,
he was here. I took a whole bunch of people to move here.
So, his brother married to, and you have the same thing in Iowa, but married to so-and-so, and you're all related. It's just one small town along Main Street. But his brother's married to the mom of someone that I knew growing up, and she actually, she does documentaries. She did a documentary called Dark Money that part of it chronicles my fight against.
He was in the movie.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Governor. I am Lisa with the ACLU, Right to Vote, or Rights for All, excuse me. I have a question about immigration. For what I would like to say, I appreciate all your work with the Native Americans that you've done. My question is, we have so many people in immigration detention right now. We have over 50,000 people in there. So many of them with families outside. Today I go to help a gentleman who's about to be deported. His family's at home. I help his family. And
Thanks for doing that.
thank you. I just have a question. Would you, as president, be able to reduce the detention rates by 75%?
Exact number. Well, I should hope so, right? I mean, we have a broken, first of all, we have a broken system. We have a system, first of all, where Democrats believe in border security. We believe in keeping families safe. We believe in growing our economy. We don't believe in using immigration to divide us. And this is a humanitarian crisis we're dealing with. We don't believe in 18th, or at least I don't, 18th century solutions like walls. But when I say we have a broken system, we have 400 immigration judges, and you have a caseload of 750,000. It's broken from the beginning. We need to make sure, overall, that dreamers have a path to citizenship.
Amen.
You have 8 million people. You have 8 million people living in the shadows, where 2/3 of them have lived in this country for over a decade. We've got to have a path to citizenship for the undocumented. We actually should deal with this as a crisis and not as something to divide us. So from the perspective of even as you look at what's happening in Central American countries, he's making it that much harder by turning around and saying, we're going to pull away humanitarian. Right. So I would sure like to make sure that we can get that down 75% along the way. Sure. Thank you for the question. Yes, ma'am. Then I'll choose you, sir.
Yes, thanks for coming to Council Bluffs.
Thanks for being here.
I was at the whole thing event and you mentioned debates. So I'm curious what your plan is to get on that stage and what you can do about that.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. In case you haven't heard all of this, yes, I got in a month ago today. And there were 3 debates that, you know, the DNC said that there are certain organizations that will count polls from, you know, little things like the Washington Post. And just last week they said, well, we're not going to count one of the Washington Post polls because it was asked the voters, like, what's your preference? And they said, me among any other people. So they said, all right, Bullock, here are the rules. We're not going to count this poll. So out of the field of 106 or whatever it is, this only impacts one person, and it makes it so I can't be on the base.
Oh, shit.
Funny, I said the same thing. But, look, there are a couple different things. One of which, as I said, I had a job to keep. There were 100,000 Montanans that needed health care. And if I would have been running around Iowa in February instead of doing my job, I don't know that I could have gotten Medicaid expansion reauthorized. If I had to choose between chasing 100,000 donors or giving health care to 100,000 people, that's the easiest choice I would ever make. So what I'm doing, I don't know what the first debate's going to look like, meaning that they're going to officially announce tomorrow. Even if you love every single candidate, going to SpeedBullock.com and giving $1 helps. Because the other thing, as a state candidate versus a federal candidate, is when I announce, I have to start all over if I don't. I have to start at 0. So we're doing everything that we can, and you'll expect also, one of the things that's frustrating about this to me is that, you know, debate rules shouldn't decide who gets nominated to take on Trump. Historically, you know who's made that decision? Iowa. And the early states. That's why you take it. So I'm going to do everything I can within my power, but whether I'll be on that first debate, I don't know. Other questions? Yes, sir. You were right.
Yeah, so I was raised in Eastern Kentucky, and I've sort of been in the world of extracting the economy all my entire youth of my life. And
Yeah.
so a few years ago, before I moved here to this area, I was got into the oil business a little bit. And so I was doing some research about the market stuff you guys have going on there. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, you know, these pipelines are going to end up screwing Montana. Because the way to make Montana profitable is to build a petrochemical industry, not just ship your raw resources, natural resources out the door. That is again, oil prices go up and down. Oil prices go up, you're making money on oil. Oil prices go down, your petrochemical natural resources are cheaper and you make more money on petrochemicals. So that seems like a much better economic development plan for Montana than, so you're making money on the value-added products, not on the extraction of the and
Well,
enabling this stuff with these pipelines seems short-sighted.
yeah, and who knows, like, I mean, from every, I guess, side of business, if you can keep it close to home, you know, your farmers make 15 cents on the dollar. You know, you have, the 4th Congressional District is the second most productive agriculture district in the country. It has 2 farms to be able to restaurant. And so anytime you can do that along the way, I think that we're better off for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, welcome to Council Club.
It's great to be here.
Glad to see you. Hey, President Kushner, just either declared a national emergency or signed an executive order about public lands and rare minerals. Does that affect Montana at all? Can you explain what that?
I have not been able to see, you know, you're better like Joe Scarborough, because I have not even seen the news of the day, or I haven't seen what he
It
saw.
happened like 2 or 3 days ago, and he said it was in response to China threatening us. Well, but it opens all these public lands, and it's gonna, the Dakotas, everywhere, and no environmental regulations will.
Which is very problematic. I mean, and you could, and I apologize that I haven't seen this specific. You could Google Washington Post and Bullock. I wrote this op-ed, this was quite a while ago, and I invited President Trump to what actually makes America great, and that's our public lands. And I know that you don't have a lot of them in Iowa, but you own the same ones in Montana that everybody else in Montana owns. And they really are one of our great equalizers, no matter how wealthy we are, where we're from, we all own them. And we've got to make sure, and what he did in the first year and a half, shrinking down also the national monuments, was significant and problematic. We've got to make sure that to the extent that resources are extracted on public lands, that environmental rules are followed. You can't go from, you know, this, it's sort of just managing by manufacturing crisis is what we're seeing time and time again out of this administration. And I don't think that's anything to work out for our country. Yes, sir.
What do you think you bring to the table that would give you the right to be the nominee over all the other candidates?
Yeah. So I think that, and I guess ultimately to step back, that's not my decision, that's yours.
We need your answer to make the decision.
I'll tell you what I think I bring certainly unique to the field in many respects. I am the only one in the field that actually won a Trump state. And if we don't win back some of the places that we lost in 2016, we're not going to be able to beat him. I am the only one in the field that's actually gotten meaningful and even progressive things done through Republican legislature. And if we don't actually figure out the way to get that done, the level of frustration is going to be that much greater. I think I've done more than anybody else in the field when it comes to, if we don't address the corrupting influence of dollars. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people talk about it. Another example of what we did on that. And, right, we're just a little small Montana. Did an executive order that said, under this Post-Citizens United world, if you want to contract with the state of Montana, I can't tell you that you can't spend money in our elections, but you have to disclose every nickel. You have to have sunshine and transparency. Every nickel you spend, if you just want to contract for goods or services from the state, what you're spending to influence our elections. Think about if the federal government did that. We contract with darn near every single business in the country. I'm the only one that's done that. I think that there are geographical differences, there are generational differences, there are the difference between most of the issues that we're going to be talking about I've had to deal with as a governor. All right, give one other example just because it's fun. It's not really directly related to your question. I think you see things a little bit different as a governor, meaning that I have to be accountable to people, and it's not about, wasn't that a great speech? Never forget, so my oldest daughter is now 17. When she was, must have been a year ago, I'm sitting in my office, and my assistant goes, Caroline's calling through the main switchboard. And I pick up the phone, I'm like, hey Caroline, what's up? She goes, Governor. You know your 16-year-old daughter says Governor. But she goes, well, I just called our 2 Senate offices and our congressman because the FCC just repealed net neutrality. And my first response was, what? You didn't use your last name, did you, honey? but then she said, so what are you going to do about it? And right, my first response is, well, I'm a governor. There's not much I can do about it. But more than disappoint a constituent, you don't ever want to disappoint a daughter. So then we start thinking about it. And that same sort of deal that I talked about, contracting goods or services have to disclose. So I did an executive order that said, if you want to sell internet services to the state of Montana, you have to preserve net neutrality, free and open internet for every citizen of the state. Now I get that Montana isn't the market maker for the world. But I turned that template and said I'd encourage other governors to do it. The next day, 2 small states called New York and New Jersey signed the same thing. My point being that in many ways, I think part of the perspective that I bring that maybe not the whole field brings, and I can't, that's ultimately up to you. When I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I have to get it done. It can't be just about a speech. So I think I bring winning in areas that we got to win. I think I bring governing in ways that we need to figure out ways to get done. And I think I bring that, as a governor, every time I say I'm going to do something, I got to figure out a way to do it.
Governor, we have time for
We have time for, yes, sir.
Governor, thank you for coming. I'm Charlie Pottawattamie.
Thanks for all your work.
Thanks for coming back to Council Bluffs.
Yeah.
I understand how hard it is for you to win an election this week, and I can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not the state representative. My question is, when you're elected president, what would be your first action? What would the number one on your bucket list to get done?
Yeah, and I think there's a whole lot that's going to have to be done, right? I mean, day one, I would certainly sign that executive order that I talked about on adding sunshine and transparency. Because, look, nobody walking down the street in Council Bluffs cares about money in elections. They do know that the economy and Washington, D.C. is working. Day one, also, when we rolled out to do this, we're now at a time, because of all other rules that the Trump administration has changed, is that you could literally have Russians giving to 8501c4, the NRA, and we've never even known. So I do a check the box. We ban foreign money in Montana. We should be able to do it all across the country. I think there are issues like climate that we need to address. I get back into Paris immediately. I fund the obligations. The auto industry wasn't even asked to get rid of these CAFE standards, the fuel emission standards. There are some things that you could do just by executive order. I would, that it's not popular with everyone, but I would do everything I can to get rid of the filibuster rule too.
All right.
Because all that does is makes it so that there's no action in Washington. And people are like, oh, well, they might do something really damaging to us if they have control of the presidency and Congress. Yeah, they spent 2.5 years trying to strip away health care from people since Trump came in. And his DOJ is still trying to get rid of the fact that we've got pre-existing conditions. Well, at least then we'd have a choice and say, no, this guy's not helping people. Those are a few of the things that I do along the way. I think we need to do a lot more from your background and mine. As I said, I was Teamsters lawyer, an IBEW lawyer, and a teachers unions lawyer. We've got to restore the opportunity to organize collective bargaining, which has been stripped away.
Yeah.
And then I go to bed and get ready for day 2. I'll close with, you know, when I first got elected in 2012, my kids were 6, 8, and 10. And it's been 40 years in Montana since kids that young have been part of this whole experience being the governor's family. And I said in my first State of the State that, you know, I said to the legislators, you're going to hear different noises from both my office and the governor's residence as the kids that age. And as leaders, we have an obligation to recognize that our kids learn from our words and our deeds. They learn from how we treat one another and what we actually do. And I implore to those legislators, our kids are watching. And I think that's more true today than ever before. And we have to ask ourselves, as leaders, are we actually creating a system that will both inspire and give something to our kids to aspire to? The guy down the street right now, who's visiting Iowa, someday is going to have to answer that question. Because also what he has done is normalized behavior through lies and misstatements, through dividedness by race, gender, geography, by temper tantrums and Twitter tirades. We now expect more of our preschoolers than we do the President of the United States. So at some point, he's going to have to answer that question, but I think at some point, every candidate running for this office is going to have to answer that question. And even all of you all as well. I do believe we can hand off something better to that next generation. And that's not just an economy, it's a political system that people will be both inspired by and inspired to. Can't do it without your help along the way, so thank you for coming out. Look forward to spending a little bit of time with you.